Hi everyone, this is Luke Bensey with the SOTERIA Security Management System. In this video, I will be discussing the collection process for security professionals when they're out in the field performing their physical vulnerability assessments of critical infrastructure or some other valuable assets. At SOTERIA, we use a mobile device to collect and analyze our data, which we've labeled the Mobile Security Application Program, or MSAP for short. This is essentially an app that you can download to your smartphones or your tablets and will guide you through the assessment process. It's a collection management tool to expedite your target analysis or vulnerability assessment, as well as help you write your final reports in a fraction of the time of traditional methods. So let's zoom in and walk through a typical assessment. All right, everyone, let's dive in now with the MSAP and walk through an assessment. So as you can see here, I've got a Galaxy tablet, and what I've done is I've downloaded the SOTERIA application, and I'm simply going to tap on that to open it up. I get the opening screen here, and now I'm directed to the home screen. As you can see, I've already preloaded a few other assessments, but today I'm going to tap on this one here, the Trustworthy Bank Demo, a fictitious bank that we've come up with. I'm going to tap on that, and it's going to bring me to my assessment info page. So in this particular screen, we're simply going to fill in the general information about our assessment. The name of the bank, the date of the assessment, the facility. So for example, let's say you have a large campus and you're doing one particular building, that's where you put facility. The name of the assessors, the lead assessor, the supporting assessors. And then down here we've got sector. Sector down here, we've got 16 critical infrastructures that we use, which are all based upon the Department of Homeland Security's 16 critical infrastructures. So financial services is one of those 16. I've clicked on that, and for subsectors, I put bank depository institution. So we're going to be assessing a bank branch institution today. So first thing we're going to do, anytime you go and do your vulnerability assessment, the first thing you do is you determine what your assets are. So for this particular assessment, our assets at a bank are going to be our employees, our main lobby, our computer network, our bank vault, and there's certainly more. But the great thing about SOTERIA is if you look up here, we've actually given you a definition of what we mean by assets. And we have an asset is any person, environment, facility, material, information, piece of equipment, reputation, or activity that has positive value and merits protection. That's the great thing about SOTERIA is we give you a lot of cheat sheets, a lot of ways to walk through the assessment. Now, you may say, oh, but there's so many more assets at a bank. Yes, I agree with you. And to add those assets, all you need to do is tap Add Asset, and you get an asset overview screen. And here you can type in what those other assets may be. So let's say I tap on the box here, my keyboard screen pops up, and I'm going to put in, let's say, money. Money might be an asset. Okay? And then I can put a description of money or where it might be located in the bank or what have you. Now you notice I am a slow typer. I type very well on a keyboard, but a finger typer on a smartphone or a tablet, I'm not that good. So what I usually do is when I'm out in the field doing assessments is I will type in some keywords like this to remind me, and then when I go back to my hotel at night, I instantly upload everything to my laptop, and then I just work off the laptop. What I'm going to do for this example, though, I'm going to use one that I've preloaded, and that's the computer network on here. A lot of different facilities use computer networks, and it's one we can all understand. So let me tap on that. And as you can see here, so now we've got the asset overview, the computer network. We describe it as an information system that authorizes transactions and protects customer data. Now, the next field down you have is your asset prioritization. And with this one, again, we walk you through, we give you questions to answer. So first we give you the definition of what is mission functionality. What do you mean by that? That's a measurement of the role of key personnel, equipment, facilities, activities, or capabilities required to fully conduct operations. So there you go. That's your hardcore sort of military DoD definition. But we also give you the layman's term definition, which is the operational effect of the event on the asset specific to its impact on fully executing the mission or the function. So again, we've got now a drop-down menu underneath that. We're talking about the computer network, and we want to say what is the mission functionality. So I go to my drop-down menu, and I'm given a choice of numbers, just simple 5 numbers. If the mission functionality is of no risk, then I give it a 1. If it's a negligible risk, a 2, a moderate risk, 3, critical risk, 4, or a catastrophic risk would be a 5. And again, you see we have a little definition, a little cheat sheet next to it to sort of help you of what a definition might be. So in this particular case, with this particular bank branch, if we took out their computer network, it would be catastrophic. So we tap it in as a 5. Then we move down the list as well. The next one, symbolic importance. A measurement of the asset's representation as a symbol of governmental, religious, economic, corporate, or institutional importance. Then we give, again, the layman's simple definition. What's the psychological effect if this asset was basically taken out? In this particular case, we've scored it. We went through our scoring sheet. We said, oh, the target has a historical, religious, or other symbolic significance to the defender. So we're going to give it a 4. And you work your way down the tablet like this. The substitutability factors, the asset's uniqueness as a capability necessary to perform a specialized function. So maybe that's negligible. And as we go through, what's the historical analysis? What's the significance to the population? The proximity to other things. So, and again, you just go through your drop-down menu. Now we get to our images, and we've all done assessments. We all like to take photos. No difference here. What we can do is we go into our image gallery. We can either take a whole bunch of photos in advance when we're on site and then load them up later. We can put as many photos as we want, just load them in. Or if we're right on site at this time and we're walking through the actual assessment process outline for you, we just tap camera. Our normal camera comes up. We press the button and we take a picture, and it goes right into the tablet here. The great thing about this as well, about the MSAP, is that as you're loading, as you're collecting all of this information, when you go back at night to your hotel room or wherever you are, back to your office, and you type everything up, it actually puts this in a nice report format for you. It's actually dropping it into a template. So essentially, when you're done, you can hit print. And print out anywhere from 20 pages to 100 pages worth of the assessment report as a deliverable, and you're significantly cutting down your time. So if we keep moving down, again, now we've got our primary threats. So what would be the primary threat now? The threat identification, the threat assessment. What would be the primary threat to your computer network? Again, we give you a big drop down of menu that you can go through. Active shooter, cyber penetration, IEDs, kidnappings, contamination, robbery, insider threat, arson, CBRE, all the different choices. So in this particular one, our primary threat that we've put is a cyber penetration or malicious hacking. We can put more in. If there's more than one threats, if there's a primary and then other secondary threats, hey, you can tap that. Add those in as well. You can put multiple ones in. It doesn't just have to be a second one. There can be a third and a fourth. And again, you see all of these. You can actually add in other ones that you can think of as well. Now we get down to the heart of it, and we get down to our Carver charts. So if you remember from your military, your intel, or law enforcement training, the Carver method. Carver is an acronym that stands for criticality, accessibility, recoverability, vulnerability, effect, and recognizability. So what we're going to do is we're talking about the computer network only here, and we're going to go through and we're going to do our Carver assessment scores. So for criticality, and again, we give the cheat sheet definition, the degree of importance to the enterprise, or the relevance as a single point of failure or choke point. In this particular case, for this particular bank branch, taking out the computer network, it's mission failure. It's a 5. And again, we give you the numbers with the definition. If it was a 1, there'd be no effect on the mission if it was damaged. If it was a 3, it would reduce mission performance. But in this case, if we take out the computer network, it's a 5. It's mission failure for the bank if it's compromised or destroyed. So we click on that. And again, we go through accessibility. What's the accessibility for a bad guy or an adversary or a nefarious character to hack in or physically destroy the computer network? And we say, well, access, it's highly restricted. So it's tough to get in. There's already good security. So we're going to give it a 2 because there's good security for access. And then we go recoverability. If there was an attack, what's the post-attack measurement of time to return back to operations? In this case, we say it's a 3. It's a moderate period of time. The effect of that, what is the effect or the adverse consequences if there was a successful attack against this computer network and the bank? In this case, again, we go to our drop-down menu. It's a 5. And then finally, the recognizability. What's the public visibility or the exposure of this computer network? What's the attractiveness of the attack by the enemy or a hostile force? And in this particular case, we're going to give it, as you can see already, maybe it's easily recognized by most observers. Okay, so now we've just completed our Carver score. The next box down is our observations and recommendations. So this is where your expertise as an assessor comes in, and you can put your comments. And let's say in this particular case, you've observed that the server room is just in disarray. There's cables are not properly labeled. The system administrator was unable to provide the dates of the last cyber vulnerability assessment scan. So those are your observations. And then so general recommendations, you can put those either below or you can put specific recommendations into the box here. Again, you tap on the box and you can just type in whatever those recommendations might be. Whoops. So now you go through your recommendations and you say, okay, well, in this particular case, we recommend a cyber vulnerability scan. So that might be something that goes in there. You could hire a third-party company to conduct a cyber assessment. Here you can add a few more images in there. Maybe you want to make a recommendation for a piece of equipment that would be good for an upgrade or a security patch, whatever it is. So you can add an image from a gallery. You can use your camera, turn your camera on, take a quick picture, all of this. And then you say, okay, well, what's the due date that all of this has to happen by? You can put that in there, and then you can put a severity. Basically, hey, this is really severe. We need to get on this. And you can do, again, a drop-down menu, low, guarded, elevated, high, or severe. And then finally, you see this last number down here. This is going to give you your risk score as calculated from all of those numbers that you put in above. So you have a risk score of 23. So 23 out of 30, let's say, out of your Carver, a possible high score of 30, which gives you a probability of successful attack at a 77%. So as you're going through each different screen, you can save this information and then it gets uploaded into the system and you go through all of your assets this way. But let's go on to another screen here and let's go to the threat impacts. So the threat impacts is basically a pairwise comparison. You're comparing one threat, one, as we like to call a design basis threat, one nefarious, one bad scenario against another. Okay, so in this particular impact, we're saying that the impact of an active shooter or a workplace violence would be greater than our cyber penetration or malicious hacking. So now we're just going to work through our impacts here. The impact of an active shooter versus is greater than theft or property. So if we have an active shooter as one of our concerns, one of our main threats at this particular bank, we go through and we can actually score in comparison so we can narrow down what we are most concerned about. So in this particular case, the impact of an active shooter workplace violent event would be, and we're comparing greater than trespassing. So as you can see, we're just working through the threats here. And again, you pick the threats. So, you're not doing this for every single scenario. It's the ones that you are considering of highest threat to that particular asset. Okay, so we're going to work through those. And up here in the corner, you see we've got our little hamburger bar. We're going to click on that. And what you see is you've got all of your different folders that you can walk through. So you have your home folder, which we looked at. We've got your asset information, which we've looked at. We've looked at our different assets. We filled that in. We filled in our impacts, which is this screen right here. And now we're going to look at our likelihood of occurrence. So again, now we're measuring impact versus likelihood. So we've just done the impact. We've said that, active shooter is greater than trespassing. Now let's talk about the likelihood of this actually occurring. So the likelihood in this particular case of an active shooter would be lower than a a cyber penetration or malicious hacking. And again, we've got our charts to pick through. Then we go through, again, active shooter. An active shooter workplace violence scenario would be lower than the likelihood of theft of property resources. So again, we just work through our threats for impact versus likelihood. Okay, so we work through that screen now. Now we get to our design basis threats at the bottom. Okay, and now we've got, as I was talking about before, active shooter, workplace violence, and we say on the individual assets themselves. An active shooter event, which was dictated towards employees, vice the main lobby, that is more of a threat than the main lobby. The employees are more of a threat than the main lobby. And again, the employees are more a threat than the computer network. The employees are more a threat than the bank vault, etc. So you can work through this screen as well. Okay, then we go back to our folders menu, and now we've got our summary charts. We tap on that, and what's happening is, as you're putting all this information in, it is populating all of the charts and everything as well. So as you can see here, we've got a Carver assessment chart. It's walking through the employees, the main lobby, the computer network, the bank vault, the money, and we put photos in with these. We have a description of each of these. We'd have our design basis threats, the impact versus likelihood charts that we just worked through. And then we get our Carver scores over here. And as you can see, the greater the threat, the higher the number, the color code goes up. So a red, something that's a 5 is a red. If it's a 3 or a 4, it's yellow. If it's a 1 or a 2, it's green. Okay. Then we go through our threat assessment graph and weighted values in there. You'll get more graphs. The more you populate, the more graphic charts that you'll get in return as well. And go back to our summary charts. And at the end, like I said before, at the end of your assessment, you can go back, you can very quickly upload this. You can upload it to the cloud, you can upload it directly to your organization's secure server, so it's not being used by any third-party cloud. You can also do it via a chip, a disk, whatever you want to call it, a SIM card, or a card, and then move it over and do a manual transfer so it never touches, it never goes across the airwaves. It's always done physical to physical if you have a very sensitive type of asset that you are assessing. And then the other beautiful thing about this, again, you can make edits at home, you can, or back at your hotel, at your office, whatever it may be. And you can update things as needed, and you can type into it using your keyboard as well. And then the beauty of it, when it's all said and done, you've got the option to send it to your supervisors, or if you're a CSO, you'll get all the information from your team that is out in the field. And we'll talk about that in another video, is your ability to monitor in real time all of this information. A big problem with vulnerability assessments is they're a snapshot in time. With this is living information. These are living numbers that can be changed and monitored. So let's say you're somebody who is in charge of an organization with, let's say, 75 assets, 75 facilities around the globe. This allows you to log in and see all of these assets in real time and be able to manage virtually all of your assets, as opposed to having 75 paper manuals that are a snapshot in time that become irrelevant very quickly and that you have to sort of flip through. Again, if you are a person who likes paper reports, at the end of typing in all your information, all you have to do is hit save and print. And like I said, you will get, you could get a 25-page to 125-page report, depending on how much information you put in, how many photos you take, and all of that. But it will be structured for you and really cuts down your assessment writing time up to 70% as well. So very useful tool. I hope you found this video useful on the MSAP. And we look forward to talking to you more in person and giving you more demonstrations in other videos. Thanks.